What's up, guys? It's Clay Town here, and today I'm doing a review on Walking Dead Compendium 3. And all I can say is, like, what the hell? That ending. Like, this... Like, I can't even wait to see this Compendium on the TV show, because, man, this was intense. Like, and before I even get into it, I just want to point out there will be major spoilers for the comic book and probably major spoilers for the show in some form. So if you don't want the show spoiled for you or the comic book, stop watching the video right now. Okay. Anyways, the book is it's insane. Like the first, I'd say, like 3/4 of it is focused on Rick and the Alexandrians and the Hilltop people kind of rebuilding after Alexandria got kind of pretty much wiped out from zombies, kind of like on the show when it got overrun by zombies. That's what I'm assuming, because I didn't read the other two compendiums, so I kind of had to go back and look at Wikipedia to check it out. But yeah, I'm assuming they were recovering from attack by that horde of zombies that got in or whatever. So that's where it kind of picks up, and right from the start, if you saw the end of The Walking Dead mid-season, you saw that they did that the prelude, and it had those biker guys show up and talk about Negan and stuff. That's kind of where it picks up in the book as well. And but it has different people. I believe let me see. It doesn't pick up exactly there, but let's see. I gotta find it. It's let's see. I gotta see who it is that was with him. It's Michonne. I believe it's Michonne. Michonne and I guess it was Rick too. It's Michonne, Rick, Glenn, and a couple others. Carl is also, and they get stopped by those people in a van, and they do that speech, everything's property of Negan and whatever, and it's insane. Like, Rick and they're like, screw this, and they basically take out all those bikers, and then things kind of continue, and things get pick up pretty quickly, because later when they get back, more of those people, those bikers, they were saviors, basically, if that's what Negan's group was called. After they get back to Alexandria, Dwight, which we saw in Walking Dead already, he leads a group of saviors back to Alexandria, and basically he has a crossbow, which I kind of like how they did it in the TV show, where it's Daryl's crossbow, but Daryl doesn't exist in the comics. But he comes back and basically he shoots Abraham with a crossbow, kills him. Eugene's pissed, and yeah, they kind of get a little into a ruckus, but then they kind of basically Rick and him, they kill most of them, and I believe they hold Dwight hostage. And then Rick, Glenn, and Maggie, and I think a couple others go out on the road to figure out who the Negan and them, what's that all about. And man, what a way to introduce him. Most people kind of already knew this was happening because it's been spoiled a long time ago, but it's crazy. I'm trying to find the picture so I can show it to you guys. So he basically, his language is pretty colorful, by the way, and he basically he talks to him, tells him what they're all about, and he uses a lot of colorful language, and he ends up kind of doing the eeny, meeny, miny, moe. He comes up with some stupid reasons why he can't kill Maggie because she's a girl, or can't kill Michonne because she's black, or can't kill Rick because he's the leader, and then he can't kill Glenn because he's the agent, doesn't want to sound racist or whatever. But then he just kind of does the eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and he ends up killing Glenn. I gotta find where it is. Yeah, here it is. It's pretty, yeah. And the thing is, what the saddest thing is when he thinks, when you think Glenn is dead. Here's another little bit. That was actually after he's already kind of hit him a couple times. But this is a little bit before right before. It's really kind of sad. He says Maggie. I can't. If they do that in the show, that'll be sad, but it'll be predictable. I think it'll be Daryl. But anyways, the show after that, basically, Negan makes Rick and the Alexandrians kind of his bitch for a while, and basically after that, Rick kind of stands in line, gives them like half of their rations for a while, because that's basically what Negan makes them do, and basically. After that, they kind of are getting prepared for some things. And part of the sad thing is, like, Maggie, she ends up leaving the group and heads over to the hilltop because she was pregnant. Like, she's in the show, she's pregnant. So they just kind of decide to let her go over to hilltop because it's a little bit safer, I guess, at this point. And yeah, oh man, it's crazy. And soon after that, Carl actually sneaks back and follows Negan, and Negan is actually really amused, and he actually thinks Carl is a pretty badass, and he treats Carl like almost like a pet, but at the same time, kind of like not a son, but. It's pretty crazy, and ooh man, it gets more and more intense. Lots of stuff happens. Basically, Negan and Rick kind of talking back and forth a lot, and kind of compare the size of their dicks. Basically, the power struggle basically, and this is pretty much when they start preparing for war. At this point. Gets pretty intense. Some people die. Some people, they go back and forth. Rick tries to attack them at their base, and they ultimately kind of get the shit beat out of them. And then Negan acts like he's not gonna, send a counterattack, and so they're like, fine. They kind of go back. Out of nowhere, he does, and a lot of people get the crap beat out of them, or they die, and wow, it's just some crazy stuff. And when they do finally get to the end and beat Negan, it's pretty happy way to end that story arc, which is All Out War, and they split into two separate books, but whew, it's crazy. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, you will love it when it's on the show. I'm really excited. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan, it's going to be amazing to see him portray Negan on the show. But let's see, what else can I say? Yeah, so basically after Negan is defeated and the whole war ends, they there's a whole book that's kind of pretty much peacetime, and I'm assuming it's almost a year later or so, because a lot of things have kind of been settled, and things are a lot more. Alexandria is kind of been rebuilt, and it and the Hilltop is Maggie's leading Hilltop because the guy who originally was leading is named Gregory, which I believe he was recently cast, but he was basically an asshole and a coward, so she kind of ended up taking over, and she's been a great leader. And then there was another group that they brought in, another settlement that was brought in during the All Out War storyline called the Kingdom, and they helped Rick and Maggie's settlements kind of take down Negan, but basically they set up a four-way trade with Dwight, who kind of took control of the Saviors and basically told them that what Negan was doing originally was bad. That's not how they should. They should basically live more peaceful and stuff. So basically there's now kind of like a four-way trade route that the four different settlements have got all set out, and things are pretty much peaceful. Like basically they're setting up for like a fair. They're gonna have a fair like we do in real life, kind of just for for fun at Alexandria. All four settlements are going to go to the fair there, and things are pretty peaceful. Rick lets Carl move to the Hilltop by himself so he can be an apprentice of this guy named Earl at the Hilltop for blacksmithing. I gotta show you there. Yeah. And yeah, things are pretty peaceful in this book, but then it starts getting weird because at the very end, some people are out on a kind of like a patrol, because they basically got patrol routes set up between all the settlements, and these guys run into a bunch of zombies, or walkers as they call them, Walking Dead, and they're trying to kill them, but then they start hearing them talking, and they think it's pretty strange. And this guy, I believe this is Dante. I don't remember. I can't. There's a lot more characters in the books than there are on the TV show, so it's a little bit more difficult to remember everyone's name just by the picture. Like, it's easier when you see an actor and talk stuff. It's easier to recognize them. But on the show, some of the characters, but I believe this is Dante. And yeah, after he's killed, he's, I believe, one of the only. I think he's the only one that survived the attack by zombies and the ones that are whispering. And he leans down to check one of the ones that he killed, and he sees that it's actually some kind of skin suit that they're wearing. And then at the end of this is the peaceful book. At the end of it, he as he pulls it off, he sees it's a human. And at the very end, more of these whispers find him, and they hold him at gunpoint. It's pretty. After that, it's still pretty peaceful, but the whispers kind of start getting into the mix. They start teasing them a bit more, and at this point, I think some of the people, they go on another run, but they fight some more of the whispers. This is Jesus. He's a character that's getting introduced pretty soon with the TV show, but he's from the Hilltop, and him and a couple guys, they're on another patrol, and they're fighting some more zombies that end up being whisperers. But this time they take one hostage. That one in the right there, I believe, is the one that they take hostage. And yeah, let's just say the Whisperers end up not being too happy about that. Let me find. I'll show you. This is by the way, this is Jesus interrogating the girl who's under that zombie skin. She's a really young girl, and the thing that's kind of a bit like kind of sad, her and Carl kind of start to kind of fall for each other, which is kind of complicated because yeah, here's him talking to her, kind of from a different room through a wall or whatever. But because the Whisperers not too happy that that some of the Alexandrians or Jesus and them kind of basically killed some of their people and crossed into their territory that we didn't even know, that they didn't even know was their territory. So basically, Carl convinces them to kind of let the girl who says her name is Lydia, let her kind of roam around with him, and things get a little steamy, as I can say. They end up having a little sex there. Ends up being Carl's first time, becomes a man or whatever, and that's when some of the Whisperers arrive at Alexandria. Or no, actually at the hilltop. That's right. I don't even know why I was saying Alexandria, because Carl was at the hilltop at this point. And here's the leader of the Whisperers. She calls herself Alpha, because at this point they're basically the Whisperers. Their kind of philosophy is that humans before the apocalypse, that whole us being civilized, that was a lie. That humans are animals, so they basically live like animals with the zombies kind of protecting them in their own skins. Basically, she demands kind of a trade, because she actually ends up having a couple of the people. It was Dante and another guy. And she basically demands a trade, so they kind of have a trade. They give Lydia back, and Carl's not too happy about that, because she kind of explained to them that Lydia explained to Carl how basically that when she was living as a Whisperer, that they basically rape wasn't really a thing, because there's no such thing as rape with animals. So when she was unwillingly forced to do things with some of them, that it just happened. She said it hurt. She didn't like it. They just kind of let it happen or whatever. So yeah, he's not too happy, and you can tell that she doesn't. After living in the not Alexandria, the hilltop for a while with him, she realizes that she kind of prefers that life, but she doesn't want her mother, which is Alpha. We don't really know her real name. She wants to stay with her mother too, but kind of conflicting. And Carl's pretty pissed that they let her go. And what does he do? He runs off by himself after him. And that doesn't go the way I think it should have. And when they're about to have the fair go down, and when when Carl finds him, he basically gets captured and is taken with them, and things aren't the best. But yeah, there's a little bit more to go. Oh yeah, when Maggie basically tries to kill, or no, Gregory, the original leader of Hilltop, he tries to kill Maggie, and when he gets caught, he basically tries to talk himself out of it, and he's basically a coward, and basically Maggie chooses to execute him, which this is after they decided that like Rick and all them, that when they spared Negan, because he's at this point still behind bars. They at this point have decided that killing is not okay. That's not what a human does. And this, at that point, when the picture I just showed you, that was when I guess they were kind of giving him some grooming and a haircut and food and whatnot. and one of the idiots didn't lock the cage. So he's like, "What? I'm free," and that's not exactly the best situation. And of course, when Rick gets back to Alexandria and sees that, he's not too happy when he sees that he has gone out. But of course, for some reason, Negan chooses not to leave. He locks himself up and he basically tells Rick, "You're basically feeding me. You're taking care of me. I don't have to do anything. You're still basically my bitch." Pretty much. So that's how that goes. And then basically it gets to the point where here's them deciding to kill Gregory. Yeah, he's hanging. And then Maggie basically says, "We're not going to start going down this road. This is the last time we should ever have to kill anybody." But it was her giving that speech. And basically, when Rick finds out that Carl is out there, him, Michonne, Andrea, who, by the way, if you didn't know, she's still alive in the comic books, even though she died a long time ago. I believe, like, Sasha and Carol, I guess, are kind of doing her type of storyline in the show, but yeah, they basically go riding out to get Carl. And let's see. Meanwhile, Alpha, she's kind of infiltrated Alexandria to see what's up with them, and she's kind of spying on everybody. More on that in a little bit. And some people are suspicious of her, such as Ezekiel, who is the leader of the kingdom. And basically, as soon as Rick and them get to a certain point, they kind of get surrounded by the Whisperers, and basically they say, "Hey, Rick, only you are coming with me, and we'll take you to your son." So that happens. Carl, when Rick and Carl talk to Rick talks to Carl and basically is like, "Dude, you have to come back with me. These people are crazy." And Carl, kind of being a horny teenager, basically, and kind of feels for Lydia. He's like, "I'm not leaving without Lydia." And basically, at this point, when he's pissed at Rick, because he's basically telling him off like, "These people are crazy. This girl doesn't want to live with them," and he calls him out. And he talks to Rick, and he's like, "She sees me as I am without this eye. I don't have to cover my eye or anything. Even you, Dad, you flinch when you see my eye socket or whatever." So that's why he refuses to leave without her. And at that point, I believe, yeah, Alpha has returned, and she basically talks to Rick and them, and she shows them that you guys need to get the hell out of my territory. She shows what will happen if you keep on crossing our territory and getting to our stuff. Those are entire hordes. That's way more than just a herd of zombies. And basically, she says a lot of those are zombies, but she's got the Whisperers infiltrated in there, kind of helping direct the herd. And she basically says, "Get out of here." And then after that, she basically kind of banishes her daughter Lydia from the Whisperers, and basically says, "Get the hell out of here. You go back with Rick and them to their place and live that civilization." And you can tell she's kind of sad, but I mean, whatever. And basically as they leave, they can. She says that we have markers set up to separate our territories now, and so basically when Rick comes back to where they left Michonne and them, there's basically dead zombies everywhere, and you think maybe those are the markers, but then you see this in the distance. You see heads on pikes, and then you're like, wait a minute. And he freaks out, and you see different people from Alexandria's with their heads on spikes. Different people, and it kind of mentions at the bottom part, it has their heads, and this is Alexandria, and at the bottom part, these are people in Alexandria kind of like, hey, what happened to this person? And it has that person's head up there, and they're freaking out. And you see a couple notable faces that they mentioned, like, I believe that's Rosita. And so there's that, and Ezekiel. That was a big one. Ezekiel's dead. He was the leader of the people at the kingdom at one point, and kind of him and Michonne kind of had a thing. And he's kind of freaking out. And he thinks that maybe Andrea and them are dead, but they actually end up not being dead. They're still there, but that's how the book ends. Cliffhanger, like, basically, what is Rick and them going to do now that they know that the Whispers basically could kill any of them whenever they want to. So, yeah, that's my review of this was awesome. I cannot wait to see it on the show, and I believe these compendiums come out every 2 or 3 years, so I guess I'm going to wait that long for the next compendium to come out, because I don't want to buy them individually when ultimately it's cheaper to wait and just get the compendium and get all that story all at once, so you don't have to wait. But yeah, I give this 10 out of 10. This is amazing. There's nothing about this that was boring to me. So yeah, thank you for watching, and if you like this video, check out my other videos, and yeah, thanks. Bye.